Welcome to High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, the space where grown ass women get real, get inspired, and get empowered. Where confidence meets class and real talk meets real women. Where we celebrate the power, resilience, and beauty of womanhood. I'm your host, Namia Carnice, your sister in style, success, and soulful conversation. This podcast is for my seasoned ladies, the women who've been there, done that, and still are stepping strong. From career moves to self-care, from relationships to reinvention, we keep it real, we keep it classy, and we always keep it fly. Now go grab your wine, your coffee, or your tea, because this is High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, and we got some grown woman talk to do. And don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Let's go. Hey, y'all. What's up? This is your girl, Namia Carnice, here with another episode, another edition of High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. I am so glad that you have checked in. I see some people coming in the door. Come on in the door. Come on in the door. You're gonna need your tea, your wine, whatever, your beverage, your cigar, whatever for tonight, because it's gonna be a good and lively conversation. If this is your first time checking in with me, maybe you're here for one of my guest panelists on this evening, whom I will introduce here very shortly. Let me tell you a little bit about what High Heels and Lipstick Conversation is. This is a platform we dive into all sorts of topics, obviously from a woman's perspective, thus High Heels and Lipstick Conversations. But it's mature conversation. It is real conversation. It is seasoned conversation. And you can just think of me as like your good girlfriend having these conversations. And we're going to get into it on this evening. Listen, before we do, I need you to check in the chat. I want you to be a part of this conversation on this evening. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. I got some brothers and a sister that's coming on, and I'm going to tell you why I selected these individuals to be a part of this conversation on this evening just here shortly. But it's been a minute since I've been on. How y'all been doing? Come on and check in with me in the chat. The way that we check in over here in High Heels and Lipstick Conversation is we check in the chat again. And so we put some kissy lips in the chat. We put some high heels. We put some lipsticks in the chat. If you're a brother checking in, I'm not expecting you to put any of that in the chat. Okay. I want you to keep it all the way manly. So you can put some arms, some thumbs up or whatever. Or just say what's up in the chat to let us know that you are here and that you are a part of this conversation. So, it's been like a few weeks since I've been on. The last time I came before you, we had some conversation. We've had conversation about our soft girl era with Dr. Adrienne Little. We had some conversation about being booked and busy with Dr. Trayvon, where we just kind of those two conversations kind of crossed over, where we talked about just finding a state of rest and a state of peace, and not always being booked and busy, and also what it means to be in your soft girl mode. So we have had plenty of girl talk. Okay. So tonight, I have to balance it out a little bit, right? And so we are talking about the state of Black love and relationships. And let me tell you why we're talking about this on this evening. Hey, Darian, thank you for checking in. I always appreciate your support, Soror. So thank you for checking in on this evening. I appreciate you for checking in. But we're having this conversation on this evening, this month of June, because it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, right? And I'm going to share with you a little bit of information because, listen, I think it is very important with it being Men's Mental Health Month that even though I'm a female-centered platform, I am all about men, especially Black men, understanding that they too need a safe place and a safe space. And so, in honor of tonight, I wanted to just kind of bring some acknowledgement to Men's Mental Health Month, especially for Black men. So, I have some data that I want to just share with you on this evening that I think it is so important for us to understand. Five stressors for Black men. Actually, let me share this a different way, because I think I want to make sure that it's seen well and it comes across well. Some data about Black men and their mental health, and just how important it is for them. Give me just a second, y'all. I thought I had this queued up already, but just give me just a second to bring it up for you, because I don't want you to miss this. I want you to understand why we are here on this evening, and so I want to be able to share broadly this data. Oh, here we go. 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 No frets. No frets. No frets. I want to be able to share this data. So give me just a minute. Let me share my screen. Share my screen. Oh, that's not what I want to share. That's not what I want to share. This is what I want to share. Okay. Oh, y'all see two of me. How did I get out of that? Sorry. Okay. Here we go. This is what I want to share. Okay. So the five stressors for Black men, and this comes from Henry Health, and it was in partnership with Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. I am a person that likes facts and data and so on and so forth. Like, sometimes I think when we have these conversations, we have it out of emotionalism, but um, we always need facts and data. And here are the facts for Black men in terms of what stresses them the most. And this particular movement is about reclaiming our strength.com, specifically for Black men. And I thought this was interesting. I don't think this is knowledge that we aren't aware of, that money and finances, okay, for Black men is a big stressor for them. Lack of economic opportunities and the inability to make ends meet. um, the weight of the world, providing for a family, children, so on and so forth. Sometimes that can weigh heavy and hard on brothers. Also, race and racism, some of the things that they experience in the workplace, out there in the world, so on and so forth. And those experiences can negatively impact the mental health for Black men. Jobs and careers, the lack thereof, resources and things of that nature. Relationship and family. Ladies, y'all are stressing these men out, okay? And then, yeah, y'all stressing them out. That's what they're saying. So sometimes they're stressing over the kids, sometimes they're stressing over y'all. And that can have some impact on their mental health, but also health and illness. And I think that is a big one. I'm probably going to bring this up again because, data shows, okay? Data shows that married men live longer. Okay, they have better health. So we probably will dig into a little bit of that. But I shared all that to say, if I have any brothers checking in, go seek help for your stressors. It is no shame to say that you need help, support, resources, therapy. All of that is a good thing. We're going to talk more about that on this evening, how sometimes traumas add to how we think and how we feel about relationships. And so I just wanted to kind of set the tone for tonight's conversation. This is all under the umbrella of Men's Mental Health Month. Okay. And we're going to dig into that conversation. I got some folks backstage. Other than that, who else did I have checking in? I saw Darian. Who else is in the? Thank you, Darren. I appreciate it. Love your content, Sora. I'm trying to bring, some good stuff, right? Like, I could do the celebrity gossip. I could talk about Diddy because I'm well versed and tuned into what's going on with the Diddy trial. It's like, soap opera for me. And people have varying opinions about Diddy. I, in particular, don't believe that he should go to jail for this particular case, although it's turning out that some of the facts are leading to sex trafficking and so forth. I, for one, believe that Cassie was molded and kind of groomed into the lifestyle that she was in. I do believe her to be a victim. These other ladies, I don't necessarily see them as victims. That was their lifestyle, and so I probably have a little variant position and opinion on that, but I could do that all day long. But who wants to, labor and moan about that? I could talk about Trump and his crazy ass politics and antics and the war that he got us in. I could talk about that because I tune into politics and I pay attention. I pay attention to politics from a spiritual aspect because I'm a spiritual person, a spiritual being. So I'm looking at things from that lens and that eye, although some of the things that is going on in the political arena to me is just wild. But some of these things were spoken. And so I think us as Black folks, despite what's going on in the political arena, the wars, how they're trying to erase our history, I, for one, think that we're going to be all right. We as special people, we rise above situations and circumstances. We are a survivor. We've survived for years. We've overcame for years. We've been at this in America for 400 plus years, and we have survived and overcame a lot. And so we'll survive these times unblemished. And though they may try, they will not be successful. So that's just the angle that I come from. Okay. As it relates to some of those things. So I could talk about all of those things, but I really want to be impactful. I want to be intentional about some of the things that I focus on and how I observe the world. And I want to bring topics that are good conversation, that are good for us, conversations that no one else is having, or at least they're not having in the way that I want them to be had. Okay. So my platform is geared towards people within my age group, right? And I think a lot of times folks that are driving these conversations on social media as it relates to things like Black love and relationships, they're younger conversations, younger generations. No diss to them, but they're either younger generations that are having these conversations or they're individuals who don't have the Black love and relationship experience because they ain't experienced it yet, right? So I wanted to be able to have this conversation from a mixture of people that I know could carry this conversation. People that have marriage. I'm married. One of my guests is married. We have a guest that was formerly married. We have a single woman. And so I just wanted to be able to have a well-rounded conversation. I don't want to argue. I don't want clickbait. I don't want to go viral because, there was some catchy argument or anything of that. I just wanted to have a well-rounded conversation. And so thus the reason why we are here on this evening. So without further ado, I am going to bring my guests up. I have Amaru of Black Butterfly Podcast. I have my girl Courtney, and I have my guy Mark B, who is going to come to the stage. Hey y'all, hey, y'all, hey.
What's going
You got
on?
it together, Courtney.
Hello,
Hey, hey,
hello.
hey, hey.
Oh, let me take one of me off of the stage. So I got these
Okay.
multiple cameras working
I see.
there.
Okay.
Pardon
Okay.
me.
Multiple cameras, split camera.
Right. Yeah. Trying to do my thing. Okay. Let me take this one out. Let me remove her. Okay. Hey, y'all. Hey.
What up?
Good evening, everybody.
I'm in
What's going
action.
on?
Yeah, so listen, I want to start by saying I very much appreciate you guys being here on this evening. I was excited about this conversation. I wanted to prepare well for this conversation, primarily because I know y'all individually, okay? I know all of y'all can carry a conversation. I know all y'all will carry out this conversation in a very thoughtful and meaningful in an intellectual Black folk way. And I respect y'all. I respect your opinions and your thoughts and all of that. And so when I was thinking about having this conversation, I'm like, who can I have this conversation with? Like it gotta be the right mix of folks. It gotta be people who I know that will have balanced conversation, right? And then have conversation in such a way that we respect each other's thoughts and perspectives and views. We may challenge each other, okay? I want us to be able to challenge each other on this evening, but you guys, I approach you for that very reason. And so just thank y'all for being here on this evening. I appreciate y'all. Darren says soulful meaning, conversations, and connection. Absolutely. So listen, let's dig right in. Let's dig right in. I want to start off by just giving you guys each a minute to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself relationship wise. Are you married, single, children, used to be married, divorced? Let us know a little bit about yourself. And we're going to start with you, Mark. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Mark B. I am originally from Gary, Indiana, but I've been down here in Indianapolis longer than I was in Gary, actually. But um, I have 5 kids total. I
Okay.
put in on 4 of them though, but 5 kids total.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've done a little bit of podcasting in my former life, get back into it. So was married actually twice.
Yeah.
I got the black wife experience and the white wife experience. So if you got
Okay.
some questions, hit me up
Oh
because
yeah, I
I
got questions. Yes.
there's differences.
It's
So yeah,
different. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Oh, and
Thank
I'm currently dating. Currently in a
Currently
relationship.
dating. Long term, right? Currently dating. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. My girl Courtney, how are
Hi,
you?
I am good.
Give us a little
So,
bit about your background.
so Courtney, but my friends call me CP. Originally from Indianapolis, but I am down here in the Queen City, and it's 98 degrees. So there's that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, so single, but dating. I'll say that.
Dating.
Um,
Someone special. I'm being nosy. You dating somebody special?
Well, y'all, like you said, you know me. I know Mark knows me, and so I'm not really public about a lot of things. You know what I
I get
mean?
it.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of, you see those memes where they'll be like, "Oh, if I was rich, there would be signs."
Yep.
So if I'm booed up, there will be signs. I'll just say that.
I got
Um,
you. I got you. I got you. Ain't no
so
ring on my finger yet. That's
right. So I mean, there's movement. We'll say that. We'll see where things
good.
go. But I've never been married. But I was in a long term relationship long enough that it probably should have been married.
Yeah.
But at any rate, and then I have 2 beautiful kids. My son is 18. Um, he's a rising sophomore at Hampton University.
Yeah.
Although I'm a
Good
Howard
job.
alumni
Good
over
job.
here, so things at home is interesting. And then I have a 22-year-old baby girl. So
Yeah. So
that's
you an
me.
empty nester.
Somewhat, I'm
Somewhat.
getting, he's here for the summer, but I'm ready to
Yeah.
do that drop back off. The first time I
Right.
cried, this time just roll out the car because I got places to be.
Right. Yes. You outside. You outside.
Right.
So right. My brother Amaru, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your relationship status, children, all that good stuff?
Amari, born and raised here in Indiana. Currently reside in Wisconsin, Shore, which is right outside of Milwaukee by the beach. So that's why I'm outside. It's just the weather. Been married for 19 years. Kids. That's really it. That's really it.
Okay. And you may need to turn your volume on your speaker up just a little bit. I don't know if it's just me, but I can't hear good all the time. Age is kicking in. But just so that we can hear you. Well, again, thank y'all for being here. Most people know myself. I'm married. In terms of marriage, I'm probably what most would consider the newlywed phase still, though my husband and I have a very long history of um, dating before in high school, being high school sweethearts, and friendship thereafter. And something 20 plus something years later, as God would see fit, we spent the block. And here we are today. And I will say he is my very best friend. But I did spend more time out there, outside, dating, than I did married currently, right? And so married 5 years, but didn't get married until my 40s, and so I know a little bit of something about the single life versus married life. And so, we're gonna have some conversation. So let me kick the conversation off like this. I want to share some statistics. And Amara, you said you are a numbers guy. So I want to kick the conversation off with some statistics, and then I want to get your reaction to because this will set the tone, the Cam Newton and K Michelle video that I shared with you guys. And that's how we're gonna kick off the conversation. So um it says black women, and this data comes from this come from uh I want to get it right, and I'm going to share this resource out with the audience later so that you can actually go and look up this information for yourself. But this comes from blackmarriage.com resource for just sharing data and information on black marriage. But it says black women are less likely to marry outside of their race, with only 7% doing so as of 2017. Of that group, 4% were married by white or married to white men. Okay. So by and large, okay, black women, we stick with our brothers. Okay. There's some outliers, but for the most part, we down with our men. Okay. For black women, the percentage of those never married grew to 49% in 2022, up from 37% in 1990. So the number of black women getting married is lessening, and those single is growing since 1990. We know that to be true. That is a trend that has been happening since the 60s, right? Since the civil rights movement was ushered in. That data is not surprising to us. Okay. 30% of Black Americans are married compared to 48% of the US population. So if you look at ethnic groups, you look at us, Black folks, you look at Indian, you look at Asian, you look at white folks, we are the bottom of the totem pole with only 30% of Black Americans being married. And so I was watching I have to get this man's name. He's on the tip of my tongue, but he was an author, a statistician, and his comment was by 2045, if Black people don't continue the family and get married and build family and build wealth, we could literally see the elimination of Black families by 2045. Okay.
Mm,
Yeah. And that's heavy. That's heavy. Okay.
mm,
50% of Black adults have never been married, in
mhm.
contrast to 34% of the general US population. And I already said Black women are less likely to get married. So, thoughts on that? What's your reaction? Anybody, open up to anybody. What's your reaction to that? To those numbers, those figures?
Well, I'll just say that my issues with statistics is they're numbers that are never given context. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person that lives in the area of nuance. Like, I don't believe one thing to be true. And although those numbers alone can sound alarming, when you hear statistics about anything, they sound alarming. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, as I was preparing for this conversation, I was thinking about like the family structure. I listened to like what Kay Michelle was saying and all of that. And I remember, and uh some of you may not, but I remember in health class that like maybe middle school or elementary school, where they were talking about like family dynamics and different type of
Mm-hmm.
families and how families look, and that there's blended families, there's families with one
Mm-hmm.
mom, there's families with one dad, and what family looks like. And I think that, I think that we kind of have to get out of the idea of what family is just a little bit, because
Yeah.
I think about like me and my kid's dad, and Mark knows. Mark's
Oh, I think we lost her.
Uh-oh, she was saying some good
She's not here.
stuff.
You already
Yeah.
know when they freeze like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go from I like when
We'll let
when
Courtney
she
come.
started though. Mark knows because that's very
Yeah,
important for the audience to understand.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, she threw the ball at you. Okay, there you go, Courtney. There you go.
There she go.
You
I
said
got you.
Mark knows. Mark knows. Can you hear us? We got you back.
She may
Are
be.
you muted?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Uh-huh. Can you hear us? I don't know if she can hear us. Well, let me bounce the ball to you, Mark, because she did say Mark knows.
Mhm.
What is your reaction to those statistics? And we'll catch Courtney when she's able to get back in.
Yeah, I would like to know the age groups that they were talking about. Like if they're talking about, 35 and older, or 18 to 25. I would like to know that, but I think I do think that there's always been this mindset of trying to divide the black family and trying to pit
Mm-hmm.
black men against black women and uh,
Mm-hmm.
trying to point out flaws instead of um, pointing out connections. I think that as a man, black man, I see more negativity thrown towards black men. Right, I see it in movies. I see it in songs. I see it in poems.
Mm-hmm.
I see it in all forms of media, and it's almost like we give um, we give permission for our women to have these negative thoughts that are kind of blasted in this echo chamber of
Mm-hmm.
this is how black men are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that when they are out there looking for or wanting to be looked for or chosen, they go in with the mindset of I'm probably going to find this, I'm probably going to find that. This is this is probably what's going to go on, or this is probably who I'm going to end up with. So I have to look out for that. So uh, anything that kind of looks in that direction or looks like that, they're probably going to go in with a cautious type of mindset, right?
Yeah, as far as it is relationships. Yeah.
Yeah,
And we're gonna dig into that because Courtney said something earlier that there we don't when we hear this data, we hear these statistics, we don't ever talk about the root cause. What led us to um black women 49% never having experienced marriage? What led us to that conversation? Amaru, what's your reaction?
Well, I was looking at those numbers too. Can you guys hear me?
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah. So I took my Bluetooth off. So what was really alarming though, beyond those, was black women was more likely to be married than white women until 1970. And
Uh-huh.
then black men, so think about 1970, right? So you had that movement
Right
with
after
Title
civil rights.
IX and all that stuff, feminism movement and all that stuff. But then black men were more likely to be married than white men up until 1960. So
Yeah.
like that is, and like the sister
Mm.
said, she's talking about nuance. You talk about what's happened the civil rights era and all that stuff. So and then, like so I always personalize and I always go back to my childhood, growing up in the 90s, you seen the drugs and you seen,
Mhm.
the substance abuse and you seen the, obviously unemployment, home ownership, right? And so, if you have all these impoverished issues, right? You're not really looking because you're trying to survive. You're not really to look, be compatible with anybody, right? You're just trying to survive, living day to day. And so, yes, I agree. You got to actually add some nuance to that. And so,
Yeah.
but it's alarming because it's shown like the I would say de-evolution of the black family from when, what K Michelle was talking about, how, your grandfather and your grandmother was totally different than today. She is absolutely right. But they didn't have the same issues as far like they had them, but it wasn't to the level that it is today, right? They had the drugs and alcohol and those type of issues, but it wasn't to the level as it is today. You know, rap songs always talk about we go from being the drug pusher to the drug user. So,
Yeah. I think you guys hit it on
oh,
the
I can't
nail.
even hear you.
The context when you have these conversations is so important. You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
I
We
can
can
Can't hear
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 you.
you
you,
either.
but can you guys hear and see me?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
back. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You back up in there.
Amaru, it
I
So
may
just
You know,
be
been
I
on your
that's
end.
outside.
what's
I'm in
going
this
on.
country heat.
it may be. Oh man, that's what
It may be on
I
your
was going
end,
to.
brother.
I was going to say to your point, something that happened in the '70s. Um, I remember having this conversation with my mom about every family that came to Gary from Chicago
Mm-hmm.
to in the '50s and '60s to go to the steel mill and work there.
Mm-hmm.
All of them, all of them were two-parent households,
Mm-hmm.
each and every one.
Yeah.
And then sometime around my mom's generation, like she graduated in '69 from Westside, the best side. She graduated in '69, and
Cougars.
that's right.
Don't
She
come on here
graduated.
with that.
She graduated in '69, and her generation was the first generation of single mothers
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
raising kids to the point where they didn't know how to raise kids in a single household because how they grew up was two
Mm-hmm.
parent household.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
happened in the '70s? Mass incarceration started happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was more of the death knell in the black household than anything else. It's not
Yeah.
like black men chose something different. It's
Yeah.
black men weren't in the household because they were getting locked up and forced to do
Yeah.
slavery.
Yeah. And I have this, I repeat this same talking point every time I have one of these conversations. Of course, I'm always come from the female perspective because I'm a black woman and I live the black woman's experience. So I understand the black woman's experience. But way too often when we have these conversations, again, it's that tit for tat. Black women are to blame, black men are to blame. We see a whole lot of that conversation on social media today without the historical context. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation because for black women, I give the analogy, you throw us in the wilderness or you throw us in the middle of the ocean, we either gonna learn to swim or we're gonna sink. Black women learn to swim as a result of being thrown out into the ocean without a boat, right? And so you take the leaders out of our home, you take our men and you lock them up. You offer us welfare, whereas is more beneficial for our men to be out of the home as opposed to in the home. You take all of these societal, political, and historical factors, and what happens is black men were impacted one way, and black women were impacted one way. But we often don't stop and take a moment to understand each other from those perspectives. It's not like black women would just gung ho and say, "Oh, what's this feminism thing? Let me become a feminist," because feminism was never about us as black women. We were a
Big
byproduct,
facts.
but it was never about us as black women. We were not intended to be a part of that movement. That movement was not about us at all. What the impact was is that our black men were no longer in the homes with us. They were being locked up. They came back from war and they're drug addicted. They can't find jobs. The struggle comes. Our communities is flooded with dope from the government. So all of these factors, and you had an impact to black men, but you also had an impact to black women. And so whenever I hear these conversations, I never hear the conversations coming from that angle of understanding. And so I think it's very important to get the historical context in there
I
as well.
I think that if I could chime in, I think that sometimes we need to even go back further than that. Like when you think about like the black family structure, they were dividing us in slavery. You know what I
Yeah,
Yes.
mean? They
yeah,
were
Yeah.
they were moving, taking men away. They were taking children away. That started out in slavery, and I feel like a little bit of the Black connection came from a standpoint of like survival. Like, you take the
Mhm.
Black men away, you take away our protection. And so then
Yeah.
women were left alone and having to fend for themselves and do whatever they had to do to take care of their children. Um, Even when it came to, like, you hear people saying, like, Black women that were like raped are abused by like slave owners. There's even been some conversation of like calling Black women like bed winters now if they date white men. But Black women that did that back then through those times of enslavement, it was a means of survival or protecting their
Mhm.
children. So you
Mhm.
have, there's been data that says that PTSD from like slavery is like ingrained in our DNA. So it's like, I think that we have to go back even further than the 60s and the 70s and
Yeah.
look at how all of these things have affected us and how we relate to one another and how we relate to each other. Like, Black women, and like, I know that I'm like, even in this standpoint myself, I have moved past the feeling or the even the nervous system to survive. Like, I want to thrive now. We've been through
Yeah.
survival and all of that. And I think
Yeah.
that I think that we have an opportunity to revolutionize Black love where it's not for survival anymore and it's out
Yeah.
of thriving. And I
Yeah.
think when you change like how you need somebody or how you want somebody or what you desire, like, I feel like the context that Black family has been talked about as a means of survival, and I think that there's some of that. But I think when we take away the need of survival and we take about like the spiritual aspect of it, the connection aspect of it, it
Mhm.
makes it more desirable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I have a car because I need to get back and forth to work. It's a
Yeah.
necessity. I don't want my family to be a necessity. I don't want my husband to be a necessity. I want it to be a matter of we have a shared connection. We are doing this thing together. We are building a life together. We are thriving together. He's fighting for me. I'm fighting for him. We're rooting for each other and we're trying to
Yeah.
build something beautiful. We're not doing this because we have to be a family because we don't want the family to structure to like end in 2045. Like, I get that. But I feel like there's so many ways to build family. And like what I was trying to say earlier is like the relationship I have with my kids' dad, we are still very much family. My
Yeah.
kids were very much brought up in a family type connection. Like, they have a tribe, they have people around them. And when you go and you visit, like if you go to visit like Africa, the whole tribe, the whole area, the whole indigenous people, they are a family unit. They
Mhm.
operate as the family. They're taking care of each other's kids. And we grew up in neighborhoods like that. So we've all
Yeah.
experienced family. It just not it just hasn't looked a certain way. And I think when we stick to this is the idea of what family looks like, we're not thinking about all the things that what family provides and how that comes even when we're not looking at a husband and a wife. Because when you think about even like our grandparents, people always bring that up. Our grandparents weren't necessarily, we were kids. We grew up under whatever happens in this house stays in this house. We grew up
Mhm.
under, you're not going to be in grown folks' business. We don't know what them marriages were. We really don't
Listen.
know what was going on in the
Yeah.
marriages.
All
We
our
don't know
grandmas
about,
wanted happy. Okay.
yeah, we don't know. Granddaddy had a whole relationship around the corner. Kids were being brought up with thinking that Mr. Mike was their dad, when it turns out that it was Mr. Gerald was their dad, but Mr. Mike was married to their mom. So we can't keep acting like that those times were like hunky dory and it was just love and all this other stuff, because it wasn't necessarily that. And we can't also think that just because both parents are in the household, the kids are getting the love and the
Yeah.
nurturing that they need to get from both parents. There are dads that go out and work and provide, but come back home, there's no emotional connection with his children. Or he's abusive to the mom, and the kids hear, him speaking to the mom a certain type of way. And then there are women who have had babies but are not really maternal. And so
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
you have
Yep.
those
Yep.
mothers that have kids because this is what we were supposed to do, or I got pregnant and now I have to marry this man and I really don't want children. And like, as soon as my kids turn 18, I'm putting them out the house because I feel like my legal duty is over. And they have no maternal instinct at all. This is where I'm talking about there's nuances to everything. There's context to everything. And we can't just paint things with one broad brush, because that's where I think that we get into these arguments. I think that's where we get into the blame game, because we have an idea we all desire certain things. And I think that we project that desire onto each other, and that becomes the argument. We all
Yeah.
want to feel loved. We all wanted the mom and dad and the love and all of this stuff that we seen on TV on the Waltons. We all wanted that, but we didn't all get that. So now we have to blame somebody. Somebody has to be the reason why we did not get the thing that we wanted the most. And so
Yeah.
I think that we have to like reshape our
What
thought
family looks like.
processes.
Yeah.
But that's
Um,
the thing though. I like to piggyback on reshaping the thought
uh,
processes. So
well,
like,
pause that thought. Courtney,
okay,
you may want to get some light because it's hard to
Yep,
see
that's
you
what I was
now.
about to tiptoe
Yeah.
back in the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
My,
Go ahead, Amaro.
I was
my
gonna
ninja
say
style.
like, so like what me and my wife do because it's intentional, because we have family members who are not married, right? We have family members who are, single mothers and fathers, right? And so what we do intentionally, we do with our own kids, obviously, but we do it with them. When we talk to them, you are somebody's wife, you are
Yeah.
somebody's husband as
Mhm.
kids, right? So they understand that that's the expectation when they come of age, right? Um, that was not, and it's being intentional with it, because you know those thoughts will be in their head when they have a encounter with the opposite sex, right? And temptation, because temptation comes for us all, right? But when temptation comes, those thoughts will be sitting there. My uncle did say, or my dad did say, my mom did say, let me wait. It'll, not saying it will stop the temptation, but it will be, those voices will be coming around to be a quick reminder of, not saying people, kids, or mistakes, nothing like that, but making that decision that would affect the rest of your life, right? And so showing them that it's possible. Be patient, right? Everybody can't wait till marriage, and again, temptation happens, but it's being intentional, having those conversations very young, so it can set expectations with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one major issue that we face is the narratives, right?
Yeah.
So we just talked about, like, CP went all the way back to slavery, right? There were masters who, they didn't. It's not like they just fetishized their slave. They also fetishized the power that they had over the black men that were there. So not only am I going to rape your wife, I'm going to do it in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I'm gonna
Yeah.
let you know that she's coming with me tonight, and then I'm gonna send her back to you with my stuff all in her and stuff like that. Now have a happy marriage. That's what I'm going to do. And what are you going to do about it? You're not going to do anything. You're going to lower your eyes when you look at me, and you're going to know that I violated her, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that woman, of course, wants to be protected by that man. So the fact that he can't do anything, the fact that he
Yeah.
can't go and strangle that dude, it's a hard task to ask her to not feel some type of way
Mm-hmm.
about her man not being able to protect her. It's a hard ask, right? So you move the narrative forward to, we were talking about mass incarceration in the 70s. There's a difference between, I'm out of the house because I was taken out of the house, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of the house because I wanted to leave the house. There's a difference
Yeah.
between, I am, as a woman, progressing in spite of you, and or I'm progressing because you're not here. There's a difference between those two narratives. But the
Yeah.
narratives that we were told, or that were pushed into our neighborhoods, was, he's not in the home because he doesn't want to be there. So
Yeah.
he's actually holding you back by being in the home. So
Mm-hmm.
you probably do better with him not being there. I remember watching a documentary where it had these young girls, young black girls who were mothers. They're probably grandmothers at this point,
Hmm.
maybe even great grandmothers. They were all pregnant, and the white lady who was interviewing them, asking them, "Are you all excited to have your babies?" "Yeah, we're so excited. We're so happy to have babies." "Well, what about having a husband? Do
I
you
saw
want
that.
to
I
be
saw that
married?"
today.
Yeah.
Yep, I saw that today. It's crazy.
All of them.
All of
"Oh
them.
no, I
They
don't. Why
snickered.
would I
Yep.
want? Why would I
Yep.
want that? Why would I
Yep.
want? I don't want anybody controlling me." Now,
But
What's
is
the
that
difference
different
between
from what we see today? Like if when I observe these conversations, I hear the same thing
same
from
thing?
young ladies who my I can tell you quite frankly, my daughter in love, marriage is not on in her peripheral right now. I think when we
Hmm.
were younger, we were told, we were taught something. I feel like our generation is the last of what I would call the traditional generation. And so we were at least taught that you're supposed to get out of school. Maybe as women, we were young black women, we were told go to college, get your education, because that's what our mothers pumped in us, right? Because they were the
Hmm.
generation that saw single motherhood. I come from a single mother. I had a
Hmm.
father. I knew he loved me, but they weren't, they divorced and they weren't together anymore. So then that left my mother to fend for us. And so our mothers taught us, you go to school, you get your education, and then you worry about marriage, which was different from their generation where they were taught you graduate high school and then you get married. It wasn't
Right.
nothing about no
Yeah.
college. Our generation, you graduate high school, you go to college, and then you worry about you start a career, then you worry about marriage. This
Boys
generation,
never got. We never got that conversation.
yeah,
No, we sure
this
didn't.
generation
Like,
seems to think marriage is, who wants to get married, why would you get married? And so I feel like those are the conversations that are driving the perception of black love and relationships now.
yeah.
And that's where you get all of this back and forth. Black men are resentful towards black women because we, again, as you said, Mark, we survived and we evolved in spite of the circumstances that we were placed in. And we can argue all day long whether or not that was by design and so on and so forth, that black women were pushed ahead of black men. We can argue that all day long, but we had to survive, right.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I just think there's a difference in who's driving these conversations on social media. The influencers, the we spoke about the Cam Newton and K Michelle, which I'm going to share a snippet here shortly. The celebrities are driving these conversations, and sometimes these celebrities are not the greatest people to be looking for expertise from. We
And
At
I
I'm
can't
agree
gonna
all.
with
read.
you.
piggyback off of that too because like so we're the same generation, right? I'm an '80s baby. We had this conversation on podcast like I thought, a couple of years ago, and it was astonishing because like I can give you examples. So I have a cousin. My cousin, she probably like 48, 49, and she was married before, and but I'm independent. And so when I talk about our generation, it was a couple things that happened. One of the things that happened was programming, right? When you look at the shows that was happening, that was on when we were kids, Living Single, Friends, some of the songs that were, that were on, right? That were being blasted all over the radio, right?
Mhm.
So as of age, women start maturing, not pursuing right or wrong, not pursuing the family dynamic, right? And then going that route of living single, right? And so I
What
had
was
to
the
say
lyrics?
this.
Check,
My
check, check it out. Do what you want, girlfriend, because it's your
yes,
world.
yes. And again, this isn't about shade or anything. I'm just going to use
But
an
you got to
example.
remember though, Maxine and them were in their 20s. Like
Yeah,
But you,
my daughter being 22, I do want her to live her
live
life in
life
her
first.
but
20s, because I think that, and, not to cut you off, but I think that sometimes too, people can get married too young. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I know for me, the person that I am right now at 44 is not the person that I was at 22. And I'm like even journaling and writing about the fact that I am meeting a woman that I have never met before. And so how can I
Yeah,
give a
yeah,
woman to a man that I've never met before until I fully understand and know me? So when you bring up like living single and all that, they were in their 20s. And I
yeah.
think that that is how you're supposed to. Like my daughter went to New York with some friends over the weekend, and I love that for her. She had a
Yeah,
blast because by the time she discovers who she is and she chooses the man that she's going to be with, she will be able to fully give him a fully evolved woman that has had experience, that has enjoyed
yeah,
a life, that knows who she is, that knows herself. And I want the young man who she marries to have those exact same experience. Like,
yeah,
you guys seen like the pop the balloon fiasco
Yeah.
Yeah,
craziness.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Which is a
seen a woman
disaster. It does
pop.
nothing but berate one
She
another. But
popped
yeah.
her own balloon because she was a darker skinned sister. She popped her own balloon because she
Saw
thought
that one.
that the brother was going to reject her. And he said to her, he was like, "No, you're beautiful. You know, your braids. I love your braids. I love your skin tone." And he was like pouring all this into her. And she said, "I want my balloon back." And people were in the comments and they were excited about that. And I did love that for her. But what that also made me think about, because I have a maternal instinct, even though me and this woman probably maybe 10 years apart, but I have a maternal instinct that immediately felt like, if you meet somebody and they're the ones pouring all of this into you and you're not building up for yourself, you leave yourself so vulnerable, because now your emotional needs and who you are and your securities are tied attached to that person. And when they stop validating you, then what? But I think
Yeah.
that if a woman or a man, I don't want to say sex wise, but like if they experience life themselves and have that moment to experience life themselves and to mature and to grow and to develop, because you also got to think some people are some kids are late bloomers. Even guys are late
Hmm.
bloomers. Like there's not a lot of guys, I mean, not all 18, 19 year olds are running around like rabbits trying to get it on. Like some of them are late bloomers. And
That's
so I
sweet.
Hmm.
think that we have to leave that space for kids to be able to grow up and to become who they are
Yeah.
before we're forcing them into like marriage
Into
situations. Because
marriage.
a
Yeah.
lot of these marriages that our grandparents had, that got married at 17, 16, with seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade educations, that goes back to what I
Hmm.
was saying before. They were in survival mode. I think
Survival
that it's
Yeah,
mode. Yeah.
great that that
but
in your 20s, explore
but
the world.
the
The,
programming isn't equal though, and
and
that's
that's
where the
my
problem
point,
lies.
because yeah, that's what I was going to say, because you got to remember who was watching those shows. So I remember I was like 16, 7. So you got 20-year olds telling 16, 17-year olds, they're not, because as a 16, 17-year old, you're not conceptualized there in their 20s. You're just seeing women conducting
The
themselves the way
girl.
they are. They doing right. So when
Hmm.
you come of age, you're, exemplifying the same behavior. But I'm saying that to say, so I'm going back to my cousin real quick. So she was one of those, right? And so one day she came to visit me, and so backstory: how I got married, I met my wife at her wedding, right? My wife was her wedding coordinator, and
Hmm.
so my cousin got divorced, and me and my wife are still married, right? So we're sitting there talking. I'm like, "Hey, cuz, how you doing?" She was like, "I'm gonna tell you something." She said, "Cuz." She's like, I hate being single. She said, I would rather be making tuna casserole.
I mean,
Above the basic.
that's real.
And she was just
Yeah.
saying, because because we would have these conversations, but she was saying, after thinking about all of those, and she had, I think she was married once. She's probably married. She was only married one time, but having multiple experiences, and she's a good woman. Like, I think a lot of our black women are great women. It's just when you, and that's a whole other conversation. When you meet the wrong, like you were saying, the wrong guy, and then he pulls the wrong stuff out of you, and then
Hmm.
you turn into something else, and then stuff start happening. And so she was just explaining, like, if she would have waited and not, I would say combative, but some of the guys she did meet, and then turning off the guys that she thought were compatible, that's another conversation. But she's like, now that I'm in my almost 50, I want to be with somebody. And it's like, oh my God, like I could have been with somebody 20 years ago, but I was in my mode. And she was like, it was a total mistake. And so it seemed, when I hear that, I was just like, wow, like and she repeated it to me so quickly. I didn't have to really, it didn't really sit in with me until like the next day. I said, damn, she really said that. I was like, wow. So
Yeah.
that was
Not
all.
not
Let me just
only
say this, coming from an experience of a woman who waited later to get married.
Mhm.
I lived life in my 20s and my 30s. I do not regret 1 minute waiting. I got married when I was supposed to get married. I got married to the person that I was supposed to get married.
Right
I
on.
could not imagine being in my 20s and being married in the state of mind that I was in, trauma that I had endured by the time I was in my 20s. And those who know my story know my story. I could not imagine being married. I would not have been the wife that I am to my husband today. I don't know that I would have been that wife in my 20s. And so I think people have to do what's best for them.
Hmm.
I love and envy people who have been married 20, 30 years already at our age. That wasn't my story, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I feel like I did everything that I wanted and needed to do in my 20s and 30s. I healed. I grew. I got my education. I didn't always make the best decisions, but I made some wiser choices in my 20s and 30s because I grew. And when it was time, it was time. And my husband is getting the very best of who I am as a woman. We got married, I was 42. He's getting the very best of me right now. And
Let's
he's
let
getting the mature me. He's getting the woman that ain't afraid of the word submission. He's getting all of that from me. And so I would not necessarily tell a young woman to rush out there and get married. I would tell her the same thing. Live life, and when it's time for you, it's time for you. But go ahead, Mark.
let's let's acknowledge that there are other Namias out there who,
Right.
the story ends well. They made some decisions when they were younger. It didn't hamper their ability to love later on in life.
Right.
Right.
But then
Yeah,
there's some other ones
that's some other one.
who made some bad decisions
See,
when they were younger.
look, got cut off.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, made some bad decisions when they were younger, and now, and the reason why we have to say that is because we live in a era where people and where women, black women especially, it's almost like a wall of that separates them from accountability. Not a wall built by them, but a
Hmm.
wall anyway, that tells you anybody that's trying to hold you accountable is a hater. Anybody that's trying to
Hmm.
tell you you're making a bad decision, you're going to regret this later on, is somebody who really is thinking bad of you and doesn't have your best interest in heart. So when you make these decisions, say you need some money, you don't want to work at the gas station, you don't want to bag groceries at Myers. Maybe you'll do OnlyFans. Okay, ain't nobody hating, right? And what you gonna get? This is what you're gonna get in the comments. Girl, they just hating on you. Go ahead, do your
Nah,
thing.
I think
Go
that
ahead. You're gonna get that.
Well,
Hold on. You'll
see,
get
Mark.
when
See,
I
this
hear
is the
that word
thing.
hold
You're
on.
accountable,
going back
black
to
men
social
trying to hold
media.
women accountable,
Yeah.
it does not always come from a place of I'm trying to show you the
Care.
right way. I'm trying to encourage.
Yeah.
It comes from a place of you
Hmm.
ain't all that. Let me tell you why you ain't shit. Cause you got a baby daddy over here. Your baby, you done made
Oh
this
yeah,
mistake. You
And
over
I was
40, so you
you're
you over
that's
trying
true.
to
40, so
use
I
you
them.
said
ain't
I was
there.
going
There's
to
a
bring
reason
up
why
this point though.
like it does
Can you
not come
if
from
define
you
that place of
accountability?
black men trying to give, at least from what I have seen. I'm not saying that
uh,
there are not outliers, but when we say black men holding women accountable, it's not always from a good place. It's from a
but
place
I'm not even talking about just black men. I'm
yeah.
talking about black women too. Like they they,
Women.
they don't want to hear it from women either. And
Hmm.
that's anything that's saying don't do this because this isn't a good decision. There is a chorus of people who will tell that person who's probably trying to make a decision. Maybe they're desperate. Maybe they're trying to survive and trying to figure it out. And hey, I just happen to be blessed with a nice body. I'm not thinking about my kids are gonna get older. I'm be in the drop off line with somebody with a whistle, and they were like, "Hey, I know you," and my kids
But
gonna be
Mark,
mortified.
Mark, those are
Yeah,
outliers, okay? Like
Those
I
are
think
outliers.
outlier.
those goes back.
Now,
Yes, that goes back to social media driving conversations and narratives that aren't reality. Like, and that's
Yeah,
why I'm so
social media is
thankful
not reality.
for the black men and the black women that I have in my life
mhm,
every single day because that's my reality. That shapes
Yeah,
and frames every all of my conversations and way that I move through life. I don't know not
mhm.
one black woman in my circle or otherwise on OnlyFans. Not one. I don't know any. I don't know any black men
I know a
that beat
couple.
their wives and don't love their kids and take care of their family. I don't know
you
any.
be on
I don't know
OnlyFans,
any
Mark.
black
I knew once.
man that gets mad
We know
about
what you
taking a
be
woman
doing.
to a nice restaurant. I don't know any. I don't know any married couples, black couples that argue about going 50-50. I don't know any.
Yeah, I
So
don't know
my
them
so
either.
my
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
them.
so
yeah,
That's not even
so
a
the
count. That's not even a conversation in my
reality,
household because we
yeah.
fought.
that's not
Yeah.
even a conversation. So the
Right.
reality of what's really happening versus social media is there's such a big difference. Like, you talk
But
about
that's why I said
accountability.
there's a difference
I think that
between.
that's become a buzz. I was going to say, I
I
think that's
can.
become a
You asked me to
buzzword
define
that
it.
people can't. Yeah, I'm just saying. I think it's a
Uh-huh.
buzzword that, like, to Namia's point, that black men keep throwing out. Oh, she don't want to be held accountable. Mark, me and you've been friends for years, right?
Hmm.
And I've reached out to you plenty of times and said, "What's your opinion on this? Or what is your thought
Hmm.
on this? Was I right in this thinking, or was I right in that process?" Because we
Hmm.
have relationship. Okay,
Yes,
Yeah.
so a black man that I have relationship with that I know cares
yes,
about me
yes,
outside of, like, wanting to have sex with me, wanting to do things,
What
Right.
you
time?
don't benefit from our
Yeah.
relationship
Mhm.
more than us having a mutual exchange and love and care for each other. So you can
Right.
tell me a whole lot more than if I make a post about going out on Friday night and a black man says, "You need to be staying in the house and you need to be doing," sir, I don't know you.
you
I
ain't
don't
Right.
my
know who you
So
daddy,
are.
right?
So
You,
when we so
here's
when
the
we
thing though.
right?
so when we talk about
One.
accountability, you can hold me
Uh-huh.
accountable because we're in relationship. A random dude
Right.
who I just met 5 minutes ago
Not every,
can't hold
yeah,
me accountable for nothing. Not
But
yeah.
not
here's the
not
thing.
anything.
I say all the
You
time.
know.
Interject just real quickly. I say
Uh-huh.
all the time in marriage, my husband is probably the only man. One of there's men that I respect, right? I respect their
Hmm.
thought and their opinion, but probably the only man that if we want to put a term check, he's the only
Hmm.
one because one, and even he be like, "Girl, you something else."
Right.
Because you
Yeah.
have to, it has to be presented to me in
Hmm.
the right way. You can't just come at me and demean me and tell me X, Y,
Hmm.
D, Z, you ain't this, you ain't that, and you don't want to be held accountable. It has to be presented in a way that will I can be open to receiving
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So
Right.
here's the thing. You know that anything that I tell you that might even come as a critique is coming from a place of love. You know that.
Right.
That's
Right.
because
I have.
we have relationship.
Yeah, because you know me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
I have offered the same kind of critique from people that I've known longer than you, and they can't take it.
Mhm.
But remember,
So.
and I've used this a couple of times this week.
Mhm.
Remember when Jesus was up in Nazareth, right? And he was talking to
Mhm.
them people up in Nazareth, and he was like, "Look, y'all, this is where he wanted to bless them folks first. Them were the people closest to him. He wanted to bless them first, but all he got
Mhm.
was backlash. Oh, you from here? Ain't nothing good coming out of here. They wasn't trying to hear nothing Jesus was trying to say. He had to go
Yeah.
somewhere else in order to
Mhm.
be able to bless them to start his ministry. So I say that to
Right.
say sometimes the people that have known you the longest, they see you came from
Mhm.
a certain area, they see you came from a certain lifestyle, they may have seen, you at your worst, and now you're going to try to tell me when you're not that person yourself. So sometimes we
Yeah.
can't minister to some people, even people that have been in
That's
our
true.
lives for a long, 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 long time. It doesn't
But what
change
I'm.
our ministry just because they can't accept the ministry. And it's not
Yeah.
even about even holding them accountable anymore. It's 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 not it's just moving on from that. Like,
Yeah. But
you you
what
you, you
my
plant your
point.
seeds where you can plant your seeds.
Yeah, and I do. I don't care. When we're if I give you some game and you don't take it, I don't care because the outcome I'm not going to care about neither. So because
Exactly.
I'm one of them people that if I tell you, hey, this ain't the move because woo woo woo, and you feel like you can't tell me what to do, cool. When you crying, don't cry to me. You
Mhm.
cry over there in the corner, right? But what
Mhm.
I'm saying is that there's less relationships like me and y'all and more relationships like you can't tell me what to do. And I understand the reason
Yeah.
because by the time by the time you all start developing, you automatically have to be on guard from men trying to run game. I
Mhm.
understand it, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
these are things that I didn't think about until I started having daughters.
Yes.
Until me and my best friend Jill started like having super close relationships and deep conversations. I get it, but what I'm saying is when you put like I don't have an opinion on anything you don't give me access to. If you put it out there in the ether for anybody to speak to, and then I speak to it, just because I speak to it in a way, or just because I say something that doesn't confirm what you already want to do, doesn't mean that I'm hating. And it tends to happen, not in our generation. It tends to happen more often where these younger women are not listening to advice of not only men. Take us
Yeah,
out
they
of
ain't
it.
listening to us either. Yeah,
Y'all,
they
yeah.
ain't
If
listening to us.
y'all come and try and tell us because oh you don't know nothing. I mean, boys do it in a different way, right?
Yeah,
Um, boys kind of need to see it and touch it. Like
Mm-hmm.
if we see it and touch it, oh dang! If he put his, I saw this dude put his hand on the stove and it burnt all the way up. I ain't doing that good. Like
Mm-hmm.
we get that, we can see that,
Mm-hmm.
hard headed. But these girls will, their mama had a broken heart from some dude who who promised him the world and was married and said he was gonna leave his wife for her because he loved her more than his wife, and that never happened. And their grandma had the same issue, and their cousins had the same issue, and somehow it's gonna be different for me. I'm not saying that girls are the only ones that go through that. I
yeah,
say it happens. There's more of a resistance to information from girls if it comes off as a critique. And I think that it doesn't come from within our community. It comes from outside of our community.
it's
And it's kind of
the plate of the
yeah,
underlay.
those
Yeah, yeah,
those are the songs that are being pushed out there. I don't cook, I don't
yeah.
clean. Let me tell you how I got this ring. But
Yeah.
that ring is in the ocean somewhere because
We
they're
see,
not
see, this
married
is
no
again,
more.
this is again, we giving bad references. These are bad,
Yes, yes,
these are bad
yeah.
Oh,
references.
But
Like,
that's
let,
what
let,
Let
they
me
let
check in
told
with the
them.
audience a little bit,
I just
y'all.
feel like
We got some.
I feel like this generation, both the girls and the guys, don't listen to nobody. These
Yeah,
kids, this generation is hard headed, just in
Very.
general.
yeah,
Like, I feel like there are men who I have tried to say stuff to, but they don't want to listen to me because I'm a woman, and they feel like as a woman, I have no place to say anything to them, and that I should be
or you're
seen
a
and not
blemished woman
heard.
because you're not married or you have
Yeah.
kids and
Yeah, because
all of
like what,
that.
But
Yeah.
Namia, what did I say to you when you asked me to be on the podcast?
You're like, I'm not married. I'm like, so that's why we need your conversation. Yeah, yeah,
It's
but
but
because
there's boys that are looking for
I
mentors though.
see the comments, and that's like, I think even to have a successful relationship, when I think about all the sex Freudian
All
slip,
right.
I
All
think
right. Come on
with
now.
all of the beautiful
Get
marriages,
into it, CP.
all the I mean, that's got to be on point too. We
Right,
can't
right,
sugarcoat that.
right.
But to
No,
say,
don't slack that.
with all the beautiful marriages, black marriages that I've seen and that I have been able to witness, there
Hmm.
is a mutual level of communication and openness and respect where a
Mhm.
wife
for
can
one
tell
another.
her husband, baby, I don't think we should make that move. Or
Yeah,
I don't think that friend really got your best interest at heart.
Mhm.
I don't really
Hmm.
think that that's a good idea. And that man has listened. And
Mhm.
Hmm.
I've seen the same vice versa. So I feel like there's again, there's a lot of these false narratives that are out there, and like, we've all been
Yep.
in experiences with people of the opposite sex and relationships that did not work out and had all types of complications and issues and all that. But I think that the most successful marriages that I've seen, there is this give and take of baby, we should do it this way, baby, we should do that way. When I think about, I listen to Sterling K. Brown and his wife's podcast, and I
Hmm.
think that their marriage is like, and of course, I'm not in it. I'm not there with them every day, but
Yeah.
I hear how they talk to each other, and it's like a beautiful game of tennis of how they go back and forth, not back and forth as in rejecting each other, but like,
yeah,
he serves, she receives,
yeah,
and and that goes back and forth. So I think that we see a generation of hard-headed people just in general that don't want to take the information to be able to grow and to develop and to like take wisdom. I think
yeah.
that that's
Do you
just,
think that's
I think that's
programming
men
though?
and women.
I
It's
definitely think it's
absolutely
programming,
programming.
but let
Yes.
me
It's
let me
it,
let me pause you guys so we can
uh,
transition. It's definitely programming, because I want to capture some of these comments in the audience because some folks got some very good comments, and I want to they're a part of this conversation, so I don't want to leave those who are checking in out of the conversation. So BZNZ Talk says, Namia, do you still think Black women are in survival mode? absolutely we are still in survival mode. Yes, we got degrees, we're doing well, but we are still a victim of our circumstances. So yes, I do think that there are some aspects of us that are still in survival mode. Darren says the collective power of Black men has always been minimized by this country. This country only wants a few to rise and prosper. Absolutely, I believe that. I believe that that there is a narrative that's being thrown out there, and we are the purveyors of those messages and those narratives, because we're on podcasts and we're back and forth and we're bickering and we see celebrities and we're demeaning each other because of it. And what we don't really realize is that we are carrying that narrative for the others, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to see our families come together, because Black families build wealth, build generational wealth, and are powerful. And so we have fed into these narratives. We believe these narratives. It's all over social media, but it's really a narrative that they themselves have fed us. Okay.
Mhm.
BZN said at 44, her child, whatever. Okay. Women are having babies well into their 50s now, get into 2025. Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't,
Our
I don't,
parents
I don't even, I
group
don't even understand the point of that.
yeah.
I don't know. Our
Because
parents
we don't
grew
even.
together. I know
Why do we
mine
want that?
did. Darren also says that social media has helped destroy relationship expectations, in my opinion. Perfect
Absolutely.
careers, houses, makeup, clothes, and unreal expectations for a mate and marriage. And then BZNZ talks as again 100% social media is destroying relationships and expectations in general, very very much so. Namia, your motto is date a mile, sis. Yes, if you single, you a woman, date a mile. That
Let
ain't
God sort
changed.
them out.
I still
And,
believe
and,
that.
and, and let's
When I
just,
was
and
in my
let's,
20s and
and,
30s, I dated who I wanted to date and I dated them all. You want to take me to dinner? Yes, I go to dinner. Until
and
I
let's
decided
just
that my
add to
husband was
that,
the one
that
that
dating them all does
nobody
not
else gets
mean,
more dinners. Yeah.
dating them all does not mean you're sleeping with them all either.
Dating them all don't mean you having
Like,
sex with them all.
you
So date them
you
all,
could
sis.
be you could be
There's
extremely
a difference.
selective. I think that their miss, again, with media, social media, and the red pills and all this other type of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I
It's
can have
ruined
3 dates
our
in a
relationship.
week and not be
Yeah.
sleeping with any of those people
Yeah.
In a day.
at all,
Mm.
like
That's
zero
listen.
percent.
Here's
Date them all,
the
sis.
problem.
Yes, I
The
believe that.
problem.
Yeah.
The problem is that one, uh, people don't read. So the word date uh, means sex to them because you don't know the
Mhm.
definition of the word date. That is not what that means, right? If it may be what it means for you, but people back in my grandmother's time used to sit in the parlor. That's a little front room of
Yep.
the house. They were still at the house, and they
Right.
sit in the parlor and they'd sit there and they talk and they have conversations and stuff like that. That is a date. One of the coolest dates that I had ever been on when I was single was just sitting in the car listening to music. Wasn't no extra
Mhm.
going on. It was
Yeah.
just two people vibing to music. That's cool stuff. Like I think that young girls are being taught that all you have to do is be effable, and young dudes are taught to get money. That I mean, we were taught that coming out of school, get money, and everything else will work out. We weren't taught to develop emotionally, to read books and develop mentally. We weren't taught any of those things. We were taught get money, you're gonna get the girl that you want, and you may get the girl that looks like what you want her to look for, but when you get to a point where your health is failing and you need somebody to wipe your behind or you need somebody to push you around in that wheelchair,
You need
you being
somebody to know
effable,
the signs of a stroke.
yeah,
Right.
you as a girl being effable ain't gonna help that. And you as a man getting money, that ain't gonna help that either. You have to learn how to relate and how to talk to people and how to be emotionally intelligent enough to, like me and CP were talking earlier about, just being able to say, hey, this is bothering me. I don't
Hmm.
like when you do this. Simple. That's not why you always tripping, bruh. Why you always tripping? Like, no, have a conversation and say, hey, I don't like when you talk to me in this way. Can you talk to me in a different way? Because I'm
Yeah.
talking to you that way.
I
Yeah.
think
That's
I
not
think
something we talk.
the strong point that you make is people don't know how to have conversations.
Yeah.
Like they don't know how to address conflict when it happens. They don't know
Hmm.
how to, like, and I can say this in like my younger years. I would just hold stuff in. I would get, I hear something, I would just get mad. And I would just hold it in, hold it in, hold it in. And by the time I finally blow up, it's over something so small that it's like, why are you getting mad about this? But now I'm bringing up things that you did 13 days ago, things you did 60 days ago, things you did 2 years ago when we first just started talking and you just didn't answer your phone. I'm bringing all of that up because I allowed stuff to build up because I did not know how to have conversations and be able to address conflicts as they happen.
Yeah.
So I
There's
think
your
that
emotional
what what
intelligence.
what
Yeah.
isn't taught and what I feel like none of us has really been taught, and people could correct me if I'm wrong. We have not been taught how to have conflict with our spouses or with our mates,
Hmm.
so that when these hard conversation stuff come up, that we are able to say I love you and give you a kiss goodnight and still go to bed with each other. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you see all those comments of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh well, I wasn't treated right at home, so that's the reason why I cheated. But you never had a conversation with your wife, or you may have
Yeah.
had a conversation with your wife, but you felt like she wasn't hearing you. Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's
Hmm.
different languages and different ways of speaking to each other, and we have to learn how to have conversations. And I
Yeah.
think that not only do we have to learn it, we have to learn how to teach to have those
Yeah.
conversations. Like
You
you
got to
said
teach the
Hmm.
next
earlier
generation.
about like I was trying to hold this person accountable, but they didn't listen. And you may think that you should be able to say it whatever way that you want to say it, but you have to also make sure that people have the room and the space to be able to receive. Like
Yeah.
now in my healing place, even when I have conversations with my friends and say my friend is just unloading all the stuff, I'm like, friend, are you telling me because you want to vent? Or are you telling me because you want me to respond? And so I'm checking to see if you're going to be able to accept whatever I'm going to give you, whether you have the space to receive. If you don't have the space and the capacity to receive anything from me, then there's no point in me having that conversation and being upset with you because you didn't receive what I was going to give you because you wasn't in that
You know,
space.
Yeah.
There's
you
been
know,
Hold your
that's
thought.
plenty of times where
Hold
never
your
I've been
thought, Mark,
going
because I
off.
want to. I want to get this comment in. I'm
okay.
sorry,
Oh,
y'all, because
sorry.
I want to move the
Huh?
conversation along. I
Oh,
don't want us to stay stuck in one place too long. But
Hmm.
creating with Tuck says, I disagree, Mark. You can't say that females have accountability issues. Accountability issues is a human thing, not a gender thing. A lot of people don't like feedback about themselves um, that they're used to. Darian says, yes, study communication and patterns of successful marriage is definitely what you should, study patterns of communication, alluding to what Courtney were saying. Um, and I think that is it. So listen, I know it's a lot of good job. We got a lot of good conversation, and y'all are very thoughtful. But I want to save some space and place and time to share the snippet from Cam Newton and K Michelle. But I wanted to put it under the context because it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I want to put it under the context of the trauma and how we get beyond on the other side, because again I think a lot of what we experience in love, marriage, we carry trauma into these relationships and marriages. Trauma is evident by the way that we engage and speak to one another on social media. Again, social media has been the purveyor of a lot of negativity that we see amongst one another. And so this video, Cam Newton, K Michelle, got a lot of a lot of hit. It went viral. A lot of people came at K Michelle. I'm just gonna say straight off, I understand her viewpoints. I agree with her viewpoint. I also understand the flip side of K Michelle being wrapped in trauma. And so I just want to get you guys' reaction. So give me a moment. I'm gonna share this video. And then Amara, I'm gonna let you be the first one to react because you've been holding on because Courtney and and Mark been
I'm a
going in.
guest. You know what I'm saying? I'm a guest. I want to be respectful. You know what I'm saying? But no, they make great press. But go ahead. Go ahead,
my
Queen.
bad.
Okay, let me share.
Well, being in Atlanta all this time and then going to Nashville, where it's predominantly white, one, they go home at 5 and 6 o'clock when they're producing because they go home to their families. Being a country singer, if you are a singer in country music, you're a man. If you are not married, it is not respected. Family is respected in country music. in that space. But in our space, we are singing about side chicks. We are glorifying a lot of women. That's not what happens in Nashville. You can't call a woman a bitch, a hoe in Nashville, because they'll never even listen to your music and your professional career will suffer. At what point in the Black community do our men create real homes? And even talking, just our first time talking, and you said you didn't even mean for that to happen. Life happens. I'm not here to judge life. I'm looking at a successful Black man that has the ability to literally turn the narrative on Black family, you know?
Mhm.
And my grandfather, I watched my uncles and everything. My whole family, they're married. I'm not the girl who didn't see what a man creating a Black family is supposed to be. So I'm asking right now, Black men, I got to my Black men to really step up for Black women and create families.
Yeah.
It's really not cool. Black men are attacking Black women. And it's not a cool, they're not creating homes, they're creating babies everywhere. It's not cool. And I'm asking you, other successful Black men, to be, you have to set an example as leads. The cute social media back and forth on Black women. Black women are strong. Black women are where you come from, this and that. So there probably isn't any sympathy for you and just life happening.
Okay. I want to stop right there. Amaru, what's your reaction? What are your thoughts? And
I
we've
mean,
already had a
it's
dialogue, but
it's
what
interesting
what do you
because um her the thought process about being respected as a family, right? Being in this space I'm a real estate developer, right? And so when we had these conversations with deals being made, one of the first things these corporate lenders and other developers and companies, they want to know what your marital status is, right? And so it's looked at the same way. It's kind of looked at the same way, and so I can identify with that, right, as a positive thing because it's looked at as stable, right or wrong, stable, our stability, strength, um, should I say, a leader, right? Because you're running your household, right? So I understand that part. Um, I think too, with the one thing that's troubling about that conversation, though, and I
Mm-hmm.
think someone said it earlier, it's entertainers leading these conversations. And that's was like I cringe when I see this because your lifestyle doesn't mirror my everyday lifestyle, right? You're having photo shoots on a daily basis. You probably got a nanny, you know, so your lifestyle's totally different from mine. I have a 9 to 5. I take my kids with me to my 9 to 5, right? When I'm making these deals, right? So they can see what daddy's doing all the time, right? I'm consciously and intentionally doing that so they can see daddy just ain't out here in the streets somewhere. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? When I go back home, like, I live in Wisconsin, but I go back, I'm just home in Indiana, hanging out with my cousins. We went out Saturday night. Daddy was home 2 in the morning before they woke up. So when they woke up, they came downstairs, even though Dad was a little hungover, but they saw Daddy. They like, and my son was like, "Daddy, you made it home before the sun came up." I said, "Daddy, always breath in this body. Daddy always gonna be home, right?" So it's instilling that in them when they're kids, so because Mama's home, right? That's always the expectation, right? But as this is where the conversation gets a little murky because I blame us. I kind of blame us for that, right? I take ownership in that because we do know of some of our men, not all, but some of them will choose to not be as intentional, right? Will
Yeah.
choose to not be I guess family oriented with their mindset, right? I know, like and I wanted to say this earlier, give an example about accountability real quick. I think I was around early 17, 18. I had my first girlfriend. And what ended up happening, we walking through the surge
Did he drop you
and
guys too?
can you hear me?
Uh-huh. Yeah, we got you.
Oh, we walking through the surge and a girl walked past me and I turned my head to look at her behind and she slapped me. My girlfriend slapped me, right? And when
Just
that
play tap.
happened, I got a little older. It's about accountability, right? I have to hold myself accountable. Why did I do that? That was taught, right? That's taught behavior. It's the same thing with a woman when a because I had this conversation with my wife. This is early on in our marriage. Like, what when we have a conversation, you're rolling your eyes. That's the same disrespect, right? It's about accountability, right? And so I still have to say yes. So as a married man and seeing some of the things, like especially when you got kids around you, like I don't want my son repeating some of the same mistakes I did, or my daughter, right? Because that little gesture can prevent you from having the married life or the mate that you want, right? And so I think it's just all encompassing. That's why I said it's all encompassing.
My question for the group is, do you believe, based on like this clip, do you believe that Black men should be responsible or take the lead in creating families? Because I heard you say, Amaru, yeah, sometimes Black men don't have the best intentions. That's the first time I've ever really heard someone in these settings in this conversation
I'm gonna be
admit
honest. You know me.
that
I'm gonna be
sometimes
real.
Black
Like
men
let's
don't
if
be
we
on the
gonna be
hood.
real, let's be real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
let's have real conversation. So do we think that, because the problem that I often have is that um Black men want us to follow their lead. They want, and this submission word just get thrown around like every, you supposed to be submissive just because I got a penis, you know. But you want that from us, right? But we are more than willing, like Darren said, she's dead right. Any woman who doesn't want a man to lead is lying. We,
Yep.
by nature, we want that leadership. We need that from y'all.
100%.
Yes, we got good jobs. Yes, we making good money now. Yes, all of those are, we're educated. We are all of those things. Yes, Black women currently in 2025. But the fact that we still, the very nature of us is to, now there's outliers, there's some bum women out there who are just
mhm.
toxic, whatever. So we you know, we not gonna say that there ain't some
Okay,
toxic women out
Mark.
there. Okay, we're gonna keep it real, there's some toxic ones out there. But the very nature, the very core of who we are as women, we want our men to lead us in that area. And so Darren also says not control but lead. She is absolutely correct. So do Black men have a responsibility for bringing us back to a place where in 2045, like the expert said, that where our Black families and our units won't be dismantled and obliterated?
You want to go, CP?
I I was gonna say I think so. I think a man who knows how to lead is one of the most attractive. Like that, you just know it when it presents itself in a room.
You just
And I
know
was
it.
talking to someone earlier, like a man that has to say, "Oh, I'm an alpha male, and you got to be submissive, and you got to," if you have to verbalize it, you ain't got it.
You
You
probably a
ain't got
beta.
it.
Yeah, you
You
probably a
know
beta.
you don't have it. Like I think about like my dad
Agreed.
and my grandfather. My grandfather, I never heard that man raise his voice, not one time. But when that man entered the room, everybody immediately perked up and was ready to act. If whatever he said to do, we were all trying to do that thing. My dad has never yelled at me. I don't know what a harsh word sounds like coming from a man within my family. So if I meet a man and I immediately see that he has a harsh tone or he has whatever. I'm just like, because you don't have to, it don't take all that
Mhm.
to
Right.
lead at all whatsoever. And I think that like a woman that has her stuff together, as they say, we can sense the leadership and we can sense the strength and the confidence on a man without him even having to say not one word at
Not
all.
one.
It is extreme turn on to woman, not only that, not about him just being able to lead my home, but me watching you lead yourself. Me watching you take care of your business. You got a job. You're chasing your dreams. You know, you've opened yourself up to be vulnerable. You're able to take advice. You are a leader in within your relationship with your male friends. There are children who look up to you. You know what I mean? Like the walk and the talk is different. Like, yeah, the
Yeah.
black men have to take their spot back
Yeah.
and not feel like they have to fight women for it, because I guarantee you a lioness will make room for a lion
Yes,
every
maybe.
single
Yeah.
time. Every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah.
So
And
if you
I
got it,
yeah. Yeah. In that battle
sorry.
with black men feeling that they have to fight black women for position, I just think in that, and then Mark, I want you to definitely give your reactions and thoughts. I think when it comes to that, I think this is just my thought and my opinion and what I observe. I think a lot of times the real battle that some black men miss is that we are not the enemy, is the other that is the enemy. But we are the ones, often black women, we are the ones that get the fallout from it, right? It's easier to fight and battle us on social media, on these podcast platforms, when we're viewing celebrity and dissecting their relationships, because it's a viral moment. It's easier to battle us than it is to battle the white man, right? And that's my thought on that. But Mark, you look like you've been holding on to some. What you got to say?
Let me get into this camera real. Okay. Well, the biggest lie going around right now is that a strong man will bring out the submission in a woman.
I
That
beg to
is
differ.
false. That is a lie. Here's the
I
thing.
beg to
The
differ.
only the only woman that can be made to be submissive is a woman who's ready to be submissive. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter if she's with a strong guy or a weak guy. If she's ready to submit, she'll submit, because there are plenty of strong dudes out there who get with a woman who is not ready to submit, and the only thing there is conflict. There's just a battle every day,
I,
because whenever he says something, then she has to, in her mind, internalize it. Is he coming for me, or is he trying to control me? Is he trying to tell me what to do? He's just looking out. While if he's strong, or if he's not strong, because those are subjective anyway.
yeah, that
If
was
a,
gonna be
if a
my.
woman if a woman is ready to submit, if she has a mindset that I want to build with a guy, I want to be part of a collective. I don't want to maintain my single identity while I'm in this relationship. I want to transform into something new. I want to be a wife. A woman who's ready to do that will submit.
Mm.
It doesn't take a special kind of guy. A lot of women fool themselves into believing that it takes this special combination of magic, dust, and thug in order to bring out the submission that's laying dormant in their body. It ain't there. For
No,
some
I think that's
women,
what y'all hear. I think that's what y'all
yeah,
hear, and what we're
Matt,
really saying is no, it's not a needing a special kind of fairy dust or magic dust to make
mhm,
us submit. It's just that there are certain qualities within a man that you just gonna we're automatically going to fall in that by nature. My
yeah.
husband is
But
one. My husband is one where I just fall into that place by nature because of who he is. Is not
mhm,
overbearing, is not
mhm,
I'm the man, hear me roar. He just
mhm.
is who he is. And so I have that desire because I have that respect for him. Do I respect every man, or have I respected every man that I've been with? Absolutely not, because they tried to do
Of
it in
course.
a way that one felt demeaning to me and was
I
Mhm.
think we
demeaning
lost him.
or was
But
abusive.
I think that was going to
So
be
what
my
what
question.
I'm saying, there is some
Because
truth,
I
whether
agree
y'all
with
want to
that.
believe it or
Like,
not. There is some
you're
truth
not
to the
going to,
fact
like, because if you
that you
meet,
have
if,
to
if
leave.
you know
Let,
this,
let me
right?
just get this point out. Let me
Every
get this point
men
out.
don't have
Let me
leadership
get this point
qualities
out.
either. You know what I'm saying?
Let me
So,
Mhm.
let me get this
like,
point out, bruh. I'm gonna mute your mic. There is
it's
whether or not
layered
y'all want to
because,
accept that or
like,
believe
because if
that or
she,
not,
let's say if the woman that
I don't think he hears me.
She
Yeah.
runs.
No, he doesn't hear.
She
Hey,
runs if the woman is willing
Hold
to
on.
submit, but she runs
pause, pause,
into
pause, 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 pause.
no back
Amari, pause,
Noah,
pause,
right?
pause.
She gonna have bad
I don't
experience,
think he.
right?
I don't think he can hear
But
you.
I don't think
Hold
pause.
on. Hold on. Hold on.
my
Hold on. Hold on.
mic is being muted. It says my mic being muted.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Hold
I'm muting. Pause. Let me get my thought out. Okay.
on.
Whether or not you guys want to accept that or not, that there is a proper way to lead us and there's a wrong way to lead us. And that leading us, that brings out that natural submission for us, is that when you lead with love and you lead with strategy, you can fear us into submission, you can manipulate us into submission, but to get the very best out of us, you have to lead properly. And I think what y'all hear is that we're looking for, a white picket fence, a man on a white horse, because that's what y'all hear, and that's not the truth. It's just what we're saying, that there's a proper way to lead and there's a wrong way to lead. And unfortunately, this is my opinion, because a lot of black men, and statistics will show this, we can go back to this data, a lot of black men have not had a father in their home. It's difficult for them to know how to lead in that way. Okay, and then now I'm going to unmute you. Mark and Amaru have at it.
My question to you is: so when you say lead, what characteristics are you looking for?
Um, lead
Especially you
in
being, I mean, obviously you married, so you can speak to that, but also to the sister, right? What characteristics are you looking for? Because obviously you're currently dating, right? You know what you're looking for. What characteristics are? And then another question is, are you going to therapy?
So
Because
so
t-
I have been to therapy at one point
same
in
here.
time. I will. I don't totally disagree with everything Mark says, because when I got married, I was ready for marriage again, because I, was at that point
hmm,
in time in my life. So I'm open. Submission doesn't scare me, right? The only way that it would ever scare me is if a man thought that the way to do it is that he does it with fear or he does it with manipulation. That's a no-no for me. But when we say that we're looking for lead, and Courtney may have her own response, but what we're looking for is men that simply lead with, again, love and strategy. Because you're leading, because I'm submissive, doesn't mean that I don't have a voice. Yes, as a man, you have the final say, but that doesn't mean that I don't have input, that I can't give thought, or that my perspective is not respected. And there's a whole biblical concept behind submission, but it's not done so with a verbatim, but that I'm the man and you better do as I say. Because I'm just gonna tell you straight up front that you probably gonna have a problem with me if my husband led in that way. We it would be problems in our marriage. But again, that submission isn't even a conversation that's had in our household, because for me, I honor my husband in a way because of the man that he is, that it doesn't even have to be a conversation in our home.
Yeah.
To answer your question, going backwards about therapy, not only have I gone to therapy, but I'm in continued healing work. So I continue my therapy. So I appreciate having my therapist, because that's a paid person that I can vent to and I can say whatever to, and I don't have to worry about unloading all of that on my friends or whatever. So, and I have ADHD, so yes, I go to therapy. The second question about like what characteristics am I looking for? Again, this goes back to me saying earlier, like the woman that I was at 20 versus at 44 is totally different. So the things that I can see, like, is for me, is taking my time when I'm dating a guy to see how he leads himself. So
Mhm.
what I
hmm,
mean by that is, how are you handling and processing and managing your own household? How are you having conversations with the people that are around you, your friends and your family? What status do you hold with inside those family relationships? You know what I mean? Like if you're a caregiver and you're taking care of your mother or your father, your older family, how are you handling that? How are you managing those types of things? How do you keep your house? How are you keeping your car and your vehicle? Like these are just small things, but a person that knows how to lead themselves, whether it is a man or a woman, there will be signs. There will be signs. Um, are we able to have a conversation and you impart wisdom? Just because as soon as you
Mhm.
open your mouth, all I want to do is just soak up everything that you are spitting out. And I'm not even
Mhm.
talking about game. I've talked to some brothers that are so highly intelligent that I'm just like, I'm just taken
Yeah.
aback. And a smart conversation will get me every single time. Do you have love for your people? Do you have conversations about Black unity, Black families, Black love? Do you love Black people? Do you like truly love Black people? Because when you truly
Mhm.
love Black people, you don't argue with Black people. You want to uplift
Right.
Black people. You want to have a
Yeah.
certain conversation with Black people. How are you leading there? How are you leading on your job? You talk about feedback. If you're telling me all the time that your boss is criticizing you, but you never once tell me about a time that your boss or your manager was able to give you feedback that you were able to receive in order to make yourself better, that's not to me a person that knows how to lead themselves. So there are like a lot of soft characteristics. You got to take your time and spend time with somebody to see how those develop. Then you talk about like how they lead their bodies, like their grooming habits. Are you going to the doctor on a regular period or on a regular basis? You know what I mean? Are you going to the dentist on a regular basis? Are you taking care of you? Have you learned to love yourself? Because if you can't love yourself, then you sure in the hell can't love me. So how are you loving yourself on a regular basis? Are you going to therapy? Are you having healing conversations? So I'm looking at all those things, because these are things that I do for me. These are things I do for myself that I'm cognizant of myself. So I'm just saying that like a man that has all that, he's going to walk into a room and you're going to be able to tell that you don't have to ask him those things. Those are things that you have to sit back and observe and watch and wait,
Yeah.
watch and pray.
Yeah. I often think
Here's
our submission comes from how deeply we respect that man, and that's just it. How deeply we
I
respect that man.
I think it sounds real good. Um, coming from an older,
Magic dust
coming
and
from an
thugs, as
old,
we
yeah,
said.
coming from an
We want
older,
to
more
magic dust and
mature,
thugs.
Hmm.
yeah, a more wise, perspective of these are the things that I'm looking for. You're able to crystallize. That sounds real good. The thing is, everybody isn't you, and
Right.
what a lot of people are running into are people telling them that I need a man who can lead, but I'm going to write out the things that you can lead me in, and this is the way that you have to lead me, and this is the direction that we need to go, and this is how I want to get there, and this is how soon I want to be there, and this is how I want you to take me there. Well, then who's leading, right? The when we're
Hmm.
talking about when we're talking about like the difference between wanting to be a wife and being one, right?
Mhm.
Um, when the Bible talks about Ruth, she was a wife. She just didn't have a husband yet, right?
I agree with
What
that.
does that mean? She had wife characteristics. She had wife qualities.
Hmm.
I have not yet met the woman who believes that they are not wifey material. I don't care what
Mm.
level of life they're in, whether they are on OnlyFans, since y'all paying me with the being the OnlyFans guy.
I know your ass
I don't
on.
care if they whether they're
You even mentioned it
whether
way
they're
too many
there.
You
times
you
tonight.
you you
I'm just
you
saying it's
you
probably
had a page name in your head as soon as you said OnlyFans. We know the
it
truth.
probably it's in the public lexicon. Okay, so but regardless of whether you in that lifestyle or whether you go to church twice on Sundays, every woman believes that they're wife material. I can't say that every guy believes that they're husband material. I know guys who'll be like, "Yeah, I ain't ready to do all that yet. I ain't ready to
Hmm.
settle down like that." But I
Well, like
believe
you said
every
earlier, are y'all
woman.
taught that?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely conditioning. Like dudes are told to sow your oats before you settle
No, that's
down
what
with a
I'm saying.
chick, and if
You're
you,
not taught. It's not put on you to be a husband. You know what I mean? Like even when
no,
you think about like a lot of sermons, church sermons are always directed towards
mhm,
single women and what single women need to do and all
Hmm.
this other stuff. It's
Hmm.
not
yeah,
really pushed on you to be a husband and what it means to be a husband. Like I
we're,
feel
we're not.
like every time I talk to a man, just in general, about
Mhm,
like what do they see themselves as a husband, is like protect, to provide,
provide.
A
but it's
profess.
never,
Yeah.
it's never about nurturing. Like a guy even told
No.
me just yesterday. He
I
said,
don't
I
think
don't
men
know
are
how to be a
nurturers in
nurturer.
that way, though.
I
I
don't
think
think
that's
men should
our
be
nurturers.
nurturers. Men
No.
definitely should be nurturers.
I
Jesus
think
was a
they
We can
nurturer.
nurture.
their nurturing looks different. Well, I mean, we have two men on it.
Like
I think
there's a way
we
to
cannot
talk to.
expect them to nurture the way that we nurture.
Yeah,
That
Right.
we're
it's not gonna look the same. But I'll tell you this to your point. Me and my cousin, I'm gonna call him Kenneth because his family nickname is probably embarrassing to him. But me and my cousin Kenneth were talking, and we were raised in this house with nothing but women in there. What were we taught in this household? We were taught how to treat women. We were taught how to respect women. We were taught how. That's why I pride myself on the fact that I have female friends who never feel like they have to protect themselves from me. Like they never have to
Mm-hmm.
feel like
Mm-hmm.
oh I can't say this around Mark or else he gonna try and
Mm-hmm.
I pride myself on that.
yeah,
But
and
we were
that's the
never
woman that's going to submit to you because she feels
yeah,
safe around you. Yes.
but we were never taught how we should be treated. We were never taught what we should accept, or we were never taught how love looks like reciprocated. We were only taught what we were supposed to do. And I think that's what a lot of men struggle with because we're taught how we're supposed to treat you. It's in every form of media out there. The perfect story is the man coming in on his white horse and treating you like with bed of roses here, and he speaks to you in the kindest of voices, and he defends you from anything that's coming your way. But they never talk about how she treats him or what she's supposed to do for him. Like what uh, if it takes a certain kind of man to bring out your submission, what kind of woman does it take to bring out my leadership?
Mm.
That's a good
That's
question
never.
for y'all to answer. Yeah.
But I'm saying that's a good question for women to ask themselves. Just like
Mm-hmm.
it's a good question for men to ask. Hey, what kind of man do I need to be if I'm going to be a father? If I'm going to be a head of the household? That's a great question. And I think dudes that are in communion with other dudes, we kind of glean stuff off. Like it's not. We don't laugh at the dude that's been married for 10 years, 20 years. It's kind of like we don't want you moving around the way that we moving because you
Mm.
married and we don't want you to mess that up. Whereas
Oh.
like women are kind of not women have these groups that you all get together and you all have conversations and you all commune, but there's a lot of outside voices that are telling you all about how men are, what men think, and it's not coming from men. So then when you all have those conversations about this is what men want, it doesn't come from men. It comes from other women, and
Mm-hmm.
they may not know what men want themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
now you have this idea of what a man is supposed to want from you, and he could need something else because we have traumas too, and we got stuff that we have to get
Mm-hmm.
over from our childhood. We have,
Mm-hmm.
the chick that broke our heart when we were as vulnerable as we could possibly be, and how bad that hurt and how long it took us to get over that. Those things are not addressed openly as much as it is with women, right? Because, like I said, all forms of media, there's not one form of media that does not speak of the female experience when it comes to dating, whether it's bad, good, or indifferent. That even with not girlfriends, with girlfriends is one good one though, but even with living single, yeah, it was do what you want, girlfriend, because it's your world. But all of them was trying to be with a man. All of them was trying to get with a man. There was that in there, right? And it was not negative. That's one thing that I appreciated about that show. It wasn't like a series of man bashing,
Mm-hmm.
right? They had good brothers in there, and sometimes
Yeah.
like Khadijah was foul. She was juggling two dudes
Yeah.
at the same. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we did have that kind of narrative, but to the K Michelle thing, and
Yeah,
here's
because
what I
I want to
promised
circle
myself.
back around it. I want y'all to answer
Yeah,
my question. Do black men
yeah,
have a responsibility in
partially.
ensuring that our families, our Black love and relationships, and where we are currently, Black men hold a responsibility for leading those efforts,
Well, partially.
bringing us
We
back together.
we Yeah, partially. Because this is not caveman days. We don't club y'all over the head and drag y'all into the cave. We don't do that. K Michelle on that same podcast said that she ran off on three dudes that proposed to her.
Yeah, I seen that.
Trauma.
Yeah.
That's her trauma. Yeah.
She yeah. So, but here now, hold on. Now watch what you did right there. Right, what she did was foul. Period. Right.
Hmm.
I don't care about the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
What she did was foul, but they're not saying that you were condoning it, but you understood it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was a level of empathy there
Mm-hmm.
that
I don't know that
that
it's other than I know it. I understand it because
yeah.
I live the Black woman
But
experience.
Steven Jackson, basketball player, um, stopped his wedding
At the
the day
altar.
of
Yep.
Because she
because
wants
the
to have a
woman
prenup.
would sign, and he was dogged for that.
By
Mm-hmm.
social
They said
media, not me. Because as a Black
Basketball
okay,
mama
media,
with a
yeah.
Black
but
son, I'm just like,
but
get that
But
prenup.
we had that. But we've had this conversation, so I know how you feel about it.
They get
But
a
I'm
sound.
saying in general, the mindset was, well, he could have did that before, or why he had to wait all the way until the day of and stuff like that. That's what was being said. So, but the
On
mindset isn't
social
the same.
media.
Where I'm, but everything's put out on social media, so it's not like we just all in our little cubicles
But
talking
I'm
about
just
this.
saying you
That's
have
how
to
we
take things with a
interact.
you have to take things with a grain of salt. Like to me, for me personally, if it's not in my frame of reference, if then it's not real. It's not real to me.
I
Like
Mm-hmm.
get so with K Michelle, right? Can we admit that with her saying that one, Black men are responsible for bringing the family together, and why can't we do that? That's our responsibility. That maybe, well, she's not. Let's say that she's maybe not the best voice for that, seeing that she ran off on
Yes.
three
That's
black
what I was.
men,
Maybe
Yes.
saying as
Yes.
she says that she doesn't even want to date black men anymore, that she
Yeah,
only wants to
she
date
did.
white men. Let's that's as far as I'm going to go because this is what
Yes.
I said. I said I'm not going to make her the poster child of my argument against what she's saying. I think it's a deeper because I could go in. I don't wrote the whole page. I ain't even going to show y'all because it's embarrassing. But
You were down there
I'm
taking
not.
notes.
I took
I
notes.
sat
Listen,
in the
Yeah.
church. I sat
I
in
was
the
Yeah.
hot.
church
Yeah.
and
Yes.
watched the whole
Look,
2 hours. And
look,
it's just her not taking accountability. That's all he said.
look.
Don't flip notes.
CP know how I get. Like I'm gonna take notes and hold on. You said what? And then you said what? Like 30 minutes later? Okay.
You
But
did
but
dissect.
when I did, when it comes to accountability, right? What she missed is while she's saying that this is what black men should do, and black men are tearing black women down, and black men aren't choosing black women, you're doing the exact same thing. And maybe you should say, hey, I'm contributing to this. So maybe instead of saying black men need to do this, let's say we need to have a conversation that's more about healing. We need to have a conversation that gets beyond um,
Yes, we do.
what we're putting the responsibility on. I'm making you responsible for this, regardless of all the stuff that you have. Instead of us doing that, how about I acknowledge how hard you had to fight to get here,
Yeah.
and then you acknowledge how hard I had to fight to get here, and then we come together and say, all right, look, I'm not gonna. I'm not a red pill dude. I'm not one of the chicks that feel like if you don't pay for my hair and my nails, you ain't a baller.
Yeah.
While I work at KFC, then you ain't got no motion, so you ain't got no. I'm not that. I want to build with somebody
Yes.
that's going to love who I am and want to see me at my best, and I want to see them at their best. I want somebody who's going to cheer for me as I cheer for them. I want somebody who has a vision for me while I have a vision for them. And if we talk about how we're going to love one another, and mothers with sons, teaching your sons how they're supposed to be loved, like what are they supposed to be looking for? not just how to treat a woman, because boys will learn how to treat a woman if they have a strong mother. We'll learn to be gentlemen. We'll learn to, be peaceful in our mannerisms towards them, but we won't know how we're supposed to receive love. And that's just as important a lesson as teaching me how to love somebody.
Yeah. Listen,
I
I,
would.
I think that's where we need to, and and you saying that is a good segue for us to kind of bring this conversation on home, because we're going on 2 hours, but we need to we need more conversations like these
Mhm.
to change the narrative, right? Because and Courtney, you said it earlier, the world that you live in, the world that I live in, I see nothing but good men, good black men. I'm around nothing but good black fathers. I'm around nothing but hardworking men. That's what I know in my world. But the conversations that we are seeing being had are coming from places of trauma, because black people, black women, black men and black women have trauma. And they're being, again, driven by unrealistic expectations. They're being driven by what we see in reality TV and celebrities. And we need to start having more conversations like these, reasonable conversations where we're not demeaning each other, where we're not downing each other, for whether it's for past mistakes and bad choices that we made, or because we experienced trauma different from you, and so now you're in a place of judgment. We need to start having these conversations where we are healing one another, right? And we can say all day long, black women need to go heal, you need to go to therapy, black men need to go. We need to start healing each other and having these important conversations, and seeing more of this by saying, hey, black men, black women to black men, I see you, I respect you, I know it ain't been easy, I know you had some struggles, I know you were faced with mass incarceration, I know they pumped drugs into our communities, I know I see you, brother. But we also need black men to have those same perspectives of black women to say, yes, sister, we're part of the same struggle. I know they forced us out of the homes and you were left to survive without. We need to have those conversations. We need to see each other's perspective, because all I'm seeing now is pointing the fingers. And when I said I agree with K Michelle, the one aspect that I do agree with her is that we as black women, we need y'all,
Mm-hmm.
right? We
Mm-hmm.
need y'all to take the lead, in making sure that our families are safe, making sure that we continue to build community, that we can continue to build family. Otherwise, we're going to be obsolete.
Yeah. K Michelle don't. She don't need us for that. She
No,
only
and
dates white men.
I
to
I mean
to
she d-
to piggyback off that,
she does need that. That was what she was crying and pretty much begging for. She does need that. That's where the tears came from. I think where she was saying about the lead thing though, I think it was more so just from the clip that I saw. So admittedly I didn't watch the
Hmm.
whole 2 hours. But I think
Hmm.
that she was more so just kind of honing in on the fact that like Kim got all these babies and that there's men that have babies everywhere and they're creating
Broken
children, but they're
home.
not creating homes. And I think
Yeah,
that that was one of the points that she was trying to make is that like
you did make that point.
stop
Yeah,
having all these babies and
yeah.
not creating homes for these children. Like, because just as a parent of two, my
Hmm.
children stretch me in so many
Hmm.
different ways because they're two totally different people. I have to be a different mom
Mhm.
to both of them. And
Hmm.
so when you have all these different households and all these different kids, there's no way that you're giving all those children everything that they need. You could be financially, like she said, Cam probably he taking care of them children financially, but
Yeah.
there's other things that he's not. So I think when she was talking about leading, she was talking about there. Like, I don't think it's fair to discount any voice in these conversations, including the K Michelle's, because even through her pain, she is trying to convey something. She is
Right.
saying that I want to be led.
She
She
did it with a
is
lot of
actually
passion.
saying, yeah, she is saying that she wants a black man, even though she said, well, I don't go get this from white men, and I don't do this
Hmm.
from white men, and white men love me. That's actually really her saying, I want a black man to treat me like I feel like I'm gonna be treated from a white man's perspective. Now I have a whole different thought
Mm.
That's a
about
whole
over the
another
black
2 hours.
people
Go.
because
You're
my
right,
thing
right.
is like I've only dated black men. It's only black men for
Mm.
me.
Mm.
I have white friends that have horrible dating relationships with white men. So anytime somebody leaves, but you don't see white people, you just don't know enough white people cause I see
Skip
it. But
skip forward 30
she
minutes
was
in that
begging for
interview.
this.
And she
She was
what she
begging.
said, though, is that she only wants to date outside of her race. She's not interested in dating black men anymore.
Mm.
She said that white men love her. That's what she said.
Yeah,
And
And again, she's not the poster child
no,
for
he's not.
the issues of what's I'm giving her the grace of she's been through some things. She's expressing her feelings about it, even though she's being a hypocrite in some things she's saying. Only
Yeah,
thing I'll say is that what would help is for black men to continue to call out black men who are being inconsistent and how we say we want our daughters to be treated,
yeah,
and for black women to hold other black women
yeah,
accountable for the words that they're using against your black sons. That would
agreed.
make everything better.
I agree. Agree.
It
100%.
for me, like it goes with protecting black women. That comment because um like in many cases they're not protected. Look at the Chris Rock situation, right, with Will Smith, right? And it was each looked at either way. But I'm like, as a married man, if someone insults my wife, I don't give a damn if they comedian or not. I'm gonna have some smoke for them. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it was many men who wasn't married who didn't understand that. I hang with a bunch of married men. We not gonna like Louis Farrakhan said. We're not gonna play about our wife.
Hmm.
Like just with white men, they go
Big,
kill for their wife, right?
yeah,
So why can't we have the same energy for ours, right?
yeah,
And I have daughters, I have cousins. Like it's a form of security knowing that they know that I ain't going for no disrespect. You can
right.
feel safe with me. I don't give a damn if we in the grocery store, right? And I see a cashier getting mistreated. I'ma say something. That's just who I am. That's how I was brought up, right? And so like I have that value in me. I work with powerful black women, right? Two of my CEOs are black women the board that I serve on in the real estate company, right? I'm not gonna tolerate no disrespect. That don't make me less of a man because
Hmm.
I will put my hands on the bruh in a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like I
Mhm.
come from that. But it's like we have basically went away from protecting the black, well obviously because of systemic issues and things like that, but
Mhm.
the reason they kind of fit, that's why I say it's on us to lead the family, because when my daughters see my her dad protecting her mom and protecting her and protecting my son, that's what a black man's supposed to look. That's what I
Hmm.
need to be looking for when I go
Hmm.
date.
Hmm.
That's who I. That's who I want leading me. That's the husband that I
Hmm.
want. Right?
Hmm.
You don't
Hmm.
have you got that. That's why. And for me, it's always gonna fall back on us. And when we talk about accountability, how can we hold them accountable when we don't hold ourselves accountable? And so
Hmm.
that's where it comes back to me. So yes, absolutely, I'm gonna stand 100%. That's why I love Namia, because the some of the things that you talk about, I'm always gonna be support. Even let's say if we don't agree or disagree, I'm not gonna be disrespectful at all. I respect black women and I protect and love y'all. Y'all have
Like
always protected me in my life, so I'm always gonna stand for y'all.
Yeah, I
likewise,
got a
likewise.
short trigger. I got a short.
I
I got a
couldn't
hair
have
trigger
had
when it
this
comes to safety.
conversation with anybody who didn't have respect for one another. Black women having respect for black men, and vice versa, because again, we need each other. I always say, if the war pop off, which the war is about to pop off, okay, we gonna have to be we gonna have to be locked, synced, and step, because we all we got. We
Right.
Yeah,
only got each other, right?
truly.
And so we need each other, and I just feel like we got a lot of healing. So I'm gonna ask this final question. Give it to me 30 seconds or less. What do you think? We don't have all the answers, and of course we could probably go for another 2 hours, but what is the solution for us we know Black men leading us. I strongly believe that we need our brothers to lead us in that effort to come back together, to recognize each other, and to respect each other and to acknowledge each other's, impact that we've both individually, the trauma that we've all had. And I'm going to share some resources for therapy, because again, this is Men's Mental Health Month, and so it's important for men to have a safe space to go. It's important for women to have Black women to have a safe space. But what do you think is the solution? 30 seconds or less. I'm gonna start with you, Courtney. What is the solution to bringing us back together?
I think one, we have to uh disconnect from social media and allowing those conversations to influence us. And I know that's hard because influence is everywhere, but I think that's number one. I think that number two is to stop pointing fingers and playing the blame game, because there's some responsibility that can be said on both parts. I think three, we have to start projecting our pain onto other people. We have to learn how to like take care of that and heal that ourselves. Every person is not your ex. Every person is not your father. Every person is not your mother. Those types of situations. And I
Right.
think that lastly is like we do have to go back to having a tribal village type of mindset, where it's not about that's your family over there. If I see Marvel's kids doing something, I should be able to be motherly. I should be able to be auntie. Like in back in Africa, they still call each other aunties and all that other type of stuff. I think that we need to find family within our community, in our broader community as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Amaru, what do you say?
For
What's
me,
the
I would say
solution?
go find an old black couple, man, and just go sit with them, get some wisdom. You know what
Get
I'm
some
saying?
wisdom.
Because I think that's what we lack with our people. That as my car goes dark, I think that that's for me. I think I love wisdom. I love insight, and so that's where the love comes from, because you appreciate what they went through as a couple, right? And so you can appreciate the love they have for each other. So that's what I would go with.
Absolutely. Mark, 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, I think that we need to focus on healing and forgiveness and the connection between the two of them, right? Your capacity to heal is directly related to your capacity to forgive. Um, on top of that, stop believing narratives. Most black men who are married to black women.
Yeah,
Stop believing narratives and
that's
stop
what the
repeating the
statistics
narrative.
say. Yeah,
And the more money they make, the more likely they are to be married to a black woman. So let's stop with the narratives, and also we need to hold ourselves accountable, right? There's
Hmm.
decisions that we make every day. Those decisions affect things that happen later on. Okay, if I make a decision to be reckless with my life when I'm younger, it can affect how I feel later on, because I'm not always going to feel the same way that I felt when I was 20. Okay.
hmm,
At 40, my 20-year-old self didn't know anything. So let's
yeah.
focus on healing. Let's focus on forgiveness. Let's stop listening to these narratives that come from outside of our community in the first place. And let's imagine uh, building within our own community.
Amen. I like it. I love it. This is everything that I wanted this conversation to be on this evening. Creating with Tuck said, don't assume you're always doing a good job. Get feedback so you can grow. I think that's important in relationships, marriages. I think that's important coming together like this, right? I'm a strongly opinionated woman, but um, there's things that that I can listen to and be taught. I don't got it all right and all together, and so it's all about just again hearing and listening to one another. I thank y'all for this evening. I appreciate
Thank you.
y'all. Again, when I said that I wanted to have this conversation, I had to really think about who I wanted to have this kind of conversation with, and I know for certain that I chose the right folks to have this conversation on this evening. I respect y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for adding to this conversation. Creating with Tuck said this was awesome. Y'all brought it on tonight. This was awesome.
Always with
Thank you
love.
for checking
Appreciate it.
in. Let us know what you think in the chat. I just because the conversation is getting ready to end here, we can continue the conversation in the chat. Let me know what you thought about anything that was said on this evening. And please like and share this live. People can catch it on the replay. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Help me to grow my numbers. I hope to continue to bring these kinds of conversations. I want to share before my guests go away. I do want to share some resources that I think is very important for us. And I think, okay, so again, with this being Black Men's or Men's Mental Health Month, I want to share that there are opportunities for Black men to get the support and therapy that they need. So if you go to therapyforblackmen.org, there are resources, and that's a platform for supporting Black men to wholeness. We know that there is a lot of weight on their shoulders to protect and to provide, and sometimes that's all we see in them is how can they protect and how they provide. And again, we were all impacted by something. And so therapy for Black men is one resource. There's also a therapy for Black women, for Black girls is a platform that you can also, if you are looking for resources or just need to talk to someone, there's also therapy for Black women, the same as there are for Black men. That's called therapy for blackgirls.org. And if you want to learn any of this data, because sometimes, again, one thing that I can appreciate what you said earlier, Amaru, is oftentimes we have these conversations without having the data, without having the knowledge of the context about some of these conversations. And so some of the data that I used on this evening was from blackdemographics.com. It's not coming out the way that I want to, but blackdemographics.com that provides detailed data on marriage and family structure within the Black community. And I also referenced Essence Magazine. There's an article that was out there that's written, The Surprising Truth About Black Love. So again, thank you for this evening. Thank you. It looks like Courtney has gone off of camera, but thank you to Mark. Thank you. Why don't you tell us briefly where we can find you on social media and what you got going on?
You'll see me chit chatting on either Instagram or Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. The Mark B is what you'll find me on. I'm on TikTok for no other reason other than my daughter makes me, do the TikTok thing. Other than that, yeah, that's no other reason. But you can
Right.
find me on there too. So yeah, I'll be getting back into podcasting as well soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So look him up on TikTok. Omaru, I know you got a lot going on. I see what you're doing in Northwest Indiana, but tell us a little bit about where we can find what you're doing, your podcasting platform, all that good stuff.
So I'm currently the co-host of BLAQBUDDAFLY podcast, Black Butterfly podcast, where we had these same conversations, but we also do community work and real estate. And so I will be venturing off soon into my own podcast space. With it's called Etna Pivot. And so I'll be launching off in January. You can find these platforms on Facebook, YouTube, IG, Twitter, and I think it's Snapchat. I think too. No, I forget it is.
Oh,
No,
you
but
in Snapchat? Your kids done taught you Snapchat too?
that was my sister, so I don't have nothing to do with it. But that's my sister. But linking through StreamYard. So, I thank you for this opportunity because it's always great to connect with someone, especially other from the city. And knowing that we are in the great spaces, having great conversations like this, productive Black people. That's what's up. So.
Yeah. Yeah, as always. Courtney, I know you off camera, but you want to
Yeah, I'm
tell us
off.
where we can find you?
Yeah, I'm off camera because I'm having my personal summer in the summer, so I had to put my hair up. So,
Okay, you know I know about that. Hey, listen,
so
y'all on the line with some 40 y'all. These some cougars on the
This
show.
grown conversation.
Grown
so
folk conversation.
yeah, so you can find me on IG African Violet 317. I
Okay.
am restarting my podcast. I have one episode up, actually talking about mental health, and it was kind of leading off of Kanye West. You can find that episode on Spotify. The title of the my podcast is "My Mic Sounds Nice." I'm a '90s baby, so '90s music and hip hop is kind of
Okay.
where I get all my mantras from. It's
Okay.
Jesus and Jay-Z. So, and I am actually in the process of writing a nonfiction book
Okay,
about
Okay.
a woman that has transitioned into empty nesthood and how she has visualized her life for herself going forward. Kind of loose narrative about myself and some ambitions that I have. And then you could just, well, I don't really be on face, like my Facebook isn't open, but so it'll be IG African Violet
okay.
317, and you can also find me on Threads. I don't do X because of that man, but yeah, no Target, no X.
No Target, no
You
X.
know, talking like
We still boycotting.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all so much. I'm gonna put y'all backstage and I'm gonna close out, and then I'll be with y'all in a short moment. If you can just hang out backstage for me, just a moment. Again, I really appreciate y'all. Thank you for this discussion on this evening. Listen, it was a good conversation. We can almost have a part two. I'm gonna have to have them come back and do a part two. I thank y'all for checking in. I thank you for your support on this evening. I am looking to carry and continue these kinds of conversations. I think it's healthier when we are having discussions that bring us together as opposed to set us apart. And I think it's just time to change the narrative. I want to be part of the solution that brings us together. And so that's my goal, right? That's my mission, to bring us together as Black men and Black women, because I think it's so important. So thank you for tuning in on this evening. Listen, I would be remiss if that I did not share with you what I have going on. Of course, y'all know I am an author. Okay, my latest book is called Lipstick Affirmation: Words of Wisdom Every Grown Ass Woman Needs to Know. You can find this book on Amazon. All you got to do is go to Amazon, type in my name, Namia Carnice, and it'll come up. There's some good stuff in there. It comes from a biblical perspective. Just some words of wisdom we as women need as we are maturing, and some things that I think would be, we mentioned this evening about it being so important for us to operate in wisdom. And so this is my book. You can journal in the book. There's some self-assessment, some self-awareness tools in the book. But it's just a tool to help us to make healthy decisions as women, especially as we're growing, and just to be the best that we can be. And the way that you get to become the best woman that you can be is when you are walking in wisdom. So go check that book out. I appreciate your support. Again, it's Lipstick Affirmation: Words of Wisdom Every Grown Ass Woman Should Know. The book that I dropped in 2023 is still out there. Again, you can get this on Amazon. Just type in my author's name, Namia Carnice, 7 Lessons for Her, all about healing, empowerment, and restoration, right? So I got a whole book. We talked about healing and trauma and all that. I got a whole book that walks you through 7 lessons on how you take that pain and you turn that into purpose. And so, again, I would really appreciate your support. I'll drop the links to those books in the chat. Again, I want you to continue the conversation. Just because we're ending the conversation right here does not mean that we have to end the conversation in the chat. So please continue this conversation in the chat. Tell me what you thought about tonight's show. Any thoughts or perspectives that you have that we may not have mentioned, you can continue that conversation in the chat. And I will be back before you in July, okay? and I just been pondering what direction that I'm going to go. And it's probably going to be along the lines of some of the concepts that I have in the book, the Lipstick Affirmations. We're going to talk about some of those concepts in the book. Listen, I'm so proud of the work that I have done. If nobody else, gives me a hand clap, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back, right? Because Lipstick Affirmations has been it's been taken off for me. Like, I have been a part of author spotlights. I did Delta Authors on Tour. The book is getting some recognition. I got requests to use my book in a format of a book club. So I'm really proud of the work that I've done. I hope that it blesses you. If there's men checking in and you don't think it's for you, you can buy it for your wife, you can buy it for your sister, you can buy it for your daughter, whatever have you. And stay tuned. Again, if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on my Facebook pages, please share, like, and subscribe, so that you can continue to be a part of the conversation and that you don't miss out on future conversations. Again, I'll be back for you in July, so you got to stay tuned for the next topic. Again, thank you for this evening. I love you, smooches. We're going to go ahead and get out of here and end the night, because we going into 2.5 hours. I appreciate you on this evening, and I'll see you next time.